Hey everyone, it is Aaron here. Welcome back. So, this is our assignment debrief. We will be going into this assignment on the next page in our module, but I wanted to kind of give you a preview of what's going on here before you read the instructions. Okay, so there's no video of me that's intentional. I want you to see the whole entire screen, and I don't want to obscure any of this information with my face in the corner. That can get in the way sometimes. But this is a template that we have available for us to use. And I am just going to make a new layer up here and color on it so I can circle things with the brush. So a few things I want to talk about here. So there's a lot going on. So for our assignment, essentially we are designing a space. And part of our assignment, not all of it, part of it is to hang up 10 things on a wall. And so you'll use whatever wall's most obvious. I picked walls that were pretty, the standout, that have a lot of open space to them. But when we populate these, keep in mind, we're going to have to mask our images so we can see the lights. I'll get to that. I know this is kind of a lot to start with, but I'm going to show you a new trick, and it's called vanishing point, and it can be a little confusing to start with. So I'm going to be quick yet precise and elaborate with all my steps, and I will also repeat it once. So a few things. I want you, when we get into this project, we can start with just importing something to put on our wall. So I have this example right here is it's just a basic painting. So I picked a Caravaggio painting. It doesn't really fit the vibe, but it's just an example. And what I want to do is I want to put that in its own folder, and that's very intentional. So I have it in its folder called painting. And what I'll do next is I will create a new layer, and I will call it instead of backup, I'll call it edited painting. It's very intentional. So we want to preserve this. I talked about smart objects earlier, and we could apply those, but I'd rather have you do this instead, just keeping a backup of your image within the file. And so this is just a backup just in case something happens. And what I want to do here is I want to just hide that for now, close that folder, okay? And I'm going to go up to Filter, Vanishing Point. And oopsies, this is the first mistake everyone makes, is I can't click it. And that's because you don't have your background selected. So make sure your background's unlocked. Just unlock that if it is. So again, click your background. We're going to go up to Filter, Vanishing Point, and we're going to create some guidelines that will automatically place our art. So right now I already have something selected. So this is just a preview here. I'm actually going to delete that. And unfortunately, it won't let me zoom in, but we don't need to be that incredibly precise right here. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this is selected right here, my vanishing point tool, to create a plane. And all we're doing here is we're just telling the computer, hey, this is my wall. I have 4 dots, just like that. Okay? All right. And then I click OK. All right, so now it doesn't show because it's in the background of Photoshop, but now I have a secret little template that if I apply any images, it'll automatically format them to look good as a perspective. So again, remember to get back there, we went to Filter, Vanishing Point. Remember my background selected, so Filter, Vanishing Point. Okay, do you see how that's there? That looks good. If it turns out to be a little bit red, go ahead and move it. That's Photoshop's way of just saying, hey, I'm not quite sure if that's where it needs to be. So just wiggle one of the corners till it turns either blue or yellow. Okay, so once I have that, I'm going to click OK. Beautiful. After that, I'm going to open up my painting folder, and I'm going to show this painting. Okay, here it is. The first thing I want to do, so this is where it gets tricky, so I want you to follow along closely. So I want to select this image, and then if I'm on a Mac, I want to hit Command and click on the thumbnail. And do you see how I have what's called marching ants that's around this? And if you're on a PC, I'll do that again for you. That would just be Control click for PC on the thumbnail, or Command click for Mac. And once I have that, what I want to do is copy paste. So for Mac users, I'd like you to do Command C, PC users, Control C. So once you have that, you can simply click deselect, or you can do Command D or Control D, and that is for deselect. Okay, now I'm going to click off of that, and what I want to do next is incredibly important. Very, very important. Okay, I want to select my new layer that's called edited painting. And then next, I will hide my backup painting. And this is where things get fun. So, like I said, we have edited painting selected. Beautiful. We'll go up to filter, vanishing points. Then I simply will do Command V, paste, and that's for a Mac, or Control V for a PC. And then I drag it in here. And you can notice that that does not look right. It looks actually quite ugly, but I will hit T for transform, and I can start to edit that. Here we have to be really careful to preserve the ratio of the image, and then I'm not doing this to the painting or this. So I want to keep it somewhat realistic, and I'm going to add that here. Okay, keep in mind I'll have to mask a portion of this painting out so you can see the light fixture. If it was this low, I definitely would have to. So I'm going to click OK there. All right, and you see how it says edited painting right there? And it's looking good. It feels very precise. You can see that it's parallel to the gaps in the wood, so that looks great. And now a few other things I want to do is we are required to add drop shadows to these, and this part's very easy. I just go up to layer, layer style, okay, and then drop shadow. And then here I can play with it. So I want you to play around with these settings. They're actually quite fun. So you pick what feels best for you. There's really no wrong answer here, but I want you to know that I'll teach you how to do more realistic shadows on our next module. It's just I threw a lot at you with transformations and adjustments this week, is that I don't really want to add more pile anything else on top of that. So I want you to pick something that works best for you here. And you may like a little noise to add texture. That's totally okay. And I'm just going to click OK. And if you remember from our previous video, our first video in this module, is that we'll be applying adjustments. So what we just did, that perspective, that was actually a transformation. And I can show you an alternate way to do that. So I'm actually going to duplicate my backup painting, and I'm going to call this edited painting 2. Now I'm going to show you an alternative way to achieve what I just did. Okay, and so for some people, the way I just showed you is really complex and you'd rather do it a different way, which I totally understand. To do that, we go to Edit, Transform, and then Skew. And here especially, I have these background lines that help me. So I can kind of have a loose idea of where my perspective needs to be, and I can just follow these lines in the wood. And for some people, this will work, but some people really need this tool here, the vanishing point tool. So I want you to pick what's best for you. As your teacher, I'll always encourage you to try what's, uncomfortable and new, which would be the vanishing point. It has a lot of weird, clunky steps to it. But if you do 10 in a row, I can guarantee you'll be a genius at it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this, and I am going to do what's called adjustments, if we remember. So go up here, and I want to make this fit well into the scene. So I'm going to go to, let's do brightness contrast, and I'm just going to dull the brightness a bit. And if you remember, I need to create a clipping mask. So if the word clipping mask is new to you, I highly recommend going and rewatching the adjustments video. If you see that, it limited it to my painting. Okay, so that feels about good. It's a little dark right there. And then let's say I want to jazz it up a bit, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. And I want to add another effect. And keep in mind, or excuse me, an adjustment. I'm really only looking for brightness and contrast for now. However, if you want to make things black and white, increase vibrance, or add a gradient map, you're more than welcome to. I'm actually going to add a gradient map, and make sure to create a clipping mask there so it's only clipped to what you need it to be. And I'm going to create something a little creative here. I'm going to reverse that. It's actually not quite legible, so let's pick one that has more lights and darks in it. Hey, that looks pretty good. Uh, I personally do a lot of this in my artwork. I teach art at Weber State, and I play with gradient maps all the time. So this is something I'm really passionate about. Love these adjustments. So I'm going to recap for you and keep it very simple. All right, so what we did in this video is I imported a painting. With the painting, I made its own layer, okay? And I called it backed up painting, and then I hid it. And then I copied that, and what I did there is when I copied it, I went up and I selected that layer by using Command or Control. If you need to rewind, that's what this video is here for. And then I went up to Filter, make sure your background's selected, and I went into Vanishing Point, and I created that vanishing point, okay? And then I copy and pasted that portion in. And remember, I had to copy and paste that portion because I can't drag anything into this special window. And if you remember, I had the marching ants around my image, and I just did Command C or Control V, and then Command V or Control V into this window here. And that's what made that possible to put in here. And once that's in there, I can start to adjust that. And once you put that edited painting in, remember, you have to create a new layer. You do not want that messing with your background layer. And once you're done with the background layer, go ahead and lock that. So I know this is challenging. There's no way around that. This is an essential skill. And I'll be totally honest with you, this is the hardest thing we're going to learn.